Government of India. This article was published around 40 years ago. It depicts the state of affairs of the time. The Government of India is easily the biggest monopolist. Its tentacles have spread to every area of Indian life. It is India's biggest employer, landlord, exporter, trader, capitalist, and socialist. It has replaced the Maharajas. After independence, the Indian government, by its sheer monstrosity of size and weight and force, has succeeded in corroding the independence of people. A government office is a long, murky tunnel reeking like a public urinal, and government servants are small, shabby clerks huddled among fraying file covers while serving life sentences in Charles Dickens' dungeons. In New Delhi, the government generates its own breed of political fixers among industrialists and small-time businessmen, journalists, artists, and socialites. Power corrupts, but before it corrupts, it attracts. Consequently, every working bureaucrat in India harbors a fantasy of reaching New Delhi. All must pay homage in the never land of Babus. Raj Kapoor must wait on an undersecretary to obtain raw stock for his films. J.R.D. Tata's army of liaison men must lay themselves at the feet of some deputy secretary, and an old age pensioner might be required to prove in writing that he is not dead before he can collect his dues. Gallons of bureaucratic ink is spilt, reams of facts collected, and numerous remarks, minutes, and memoranda recorded only to be stacked away in files. Pushing files is the single biggest preoccupation in the government. Even on his sick bed in Surajkund a few months ago, Chaudhry Charan Singh remained glued to his files. Karpuri Thakur in Bihar disappears from his office in Patna to clear his files in peace from a hideout. And the new Union Health Minister Rabi Ray has already taken the cue. Recently, in New Delhi, he was seen ticking his files in the middle of a public concert. The life and death of every Indian is sandwiched between the covers of a government file. Industrial fortunes are made and destroyed by the stroke of a pen. Licenses and permits worth crores of rupees are disappeared by a couple of signatures. The bureaucrats remain weighed by the backlog. It is precisely the Babu's fear of being held accountable that has produced the mentality of passing the buck and created an immovable white elephant. Like God, the government is both omnipotent and omnipresent. It owns 65% of the bread industry, 98% of coal, 85% of banking, 100% of life insurance, and 32% of bulk drugs. It imports 76% of the total goods imported to India. 25 years ago, goods imported on account of government amounted to only 20% of total. The government is the richest organization in the country today. It owns 70% of all national wealth, and it is the richest manufacturer from soft drinks to fertilizers, films to detonators, watches to cement. It produces all the above. Both these breeds of Indians, the Babus and the Netas, have multiplied like mice. Government employees constitute the largest single workforce in this country. Out of every 10 employed Indians, 7 work in a government office. For every 60 kicking Indians, there is one usually inert civil servant. Out of nearly 13 million government employees, about 3 million are employed by the central government, 8 million with state governments, and the 2 million or so with public sector undertakings. Every class 4 employee attends to office work for 12 minutes a day. A government typist, provided a typewriter is available, types 100 words a day. Remaining official duties are made up of running personal and domestic errands for senior officials. Just as a minister's wife phones her husband's retinue of personal assistants to come and fix her refrigerator, so do junior babus ingratiate themselves with senior babus. While the large body of government offices continues to resemble public urinals, the senior officials remain cocooned in air-conditioned and carpeted comfort. 96% of lower-level government employees live in virtual slums, but the 150 secretaries and additional secretaries to government occupy colonial mansions set in rolling gardens worth approximately 150 crores, enough to accommodate more than 1 lakh government employees. The entire offices of Indian public sector use nearly 80% of air conditioning installed in India. The government also uses 60% of all passenger cars running on Indian roads. In addition, 1 out of every 5 Indian telephones belongs to the government. Every 4th air passenger works for the government, and every 3rd train passenger traveling in first class is a government employee. The entire area occupied by government buildings, including residential accommodation, is estimated at 1000 square kilometer, equal to the whole of the state of Manipur. It is impossible to start any industry in this country, even open a small shop, without scores of clearances from as many authorities and the use of a great deal of palm greasing. And the evil effects of this vast power in government hands are there for all to see. Corruption at almost every level of administration and the general air of anything goes, sab chalta hai, which ultimately culminated in the emergency and dictatorship. The only saving grace in India is that the administration is so mercifully inefficient that things may not come to such a violent pass as in neighboring countries. But the inefficiency may be deceptive. The state may be inefficient in its handling of economic affairs, but as was proved during the emergency, it can be deadly in other matters. Politicians and babus who are presumed to act on behalf of people often lose sight of the fact that there is no such thing as government money. Every rupee except the small portion that is received as assistance from abroad belongs to the people and is, in fact, their money. There is a growing awareness among people that they should have a bigger say in their own money and therefore in the running of their own lives. Thank you for listening this article. Now, some of the words and their meanings. And government servants are small, shabby clerks huddled among fraying file covers while serving life sentences in Charles Dickens' dungeons. Fraying means become worn at edge. Dungeon means a strong underground prison cell. Like God, it is both omnipotent and omnipresent. Omnipotent means having unlimited power and able to do anything. Omnipresent means present at everywhere. For every 60 kicking Indians, there is one usually inert civil servant. Kicking means lively. Inert means not moving or not able to move. Just as a minister's wife phones her husband's retinue of personal assistants to come and fix the refrigerator, so do junior babus ingratiate themselves with senior babus. Ingratiate means to make someone like you by praising or trying to please them. Thank you very much.